You're listening to The Sort of Truth on the All the Things Podcast Network, the alcohol-fueled chapter-by-chapter reread of the Sort of Truth series with a wash tub full of craft brew on the side. Make you warm and fuzzy. I'm Nate.
And I'm Jade, and on this episode we are relaxing into chapter 41 of Stone of Tears.
That is right. Doesn't sound bad, does it?
No.
Nice tub, relax, a beer. I've heard of shower beers, but I've never heard of tub beers.
I think that there's a place where you can actually, like, swim in beer.
What?
I think it might be in Italy, maybe?
Well,
I don't know.
We have to go.
I've watched
now,
YouTube videos,
like right now. Like, sorry guys, it's going to be a real short one this week.
We have plans.
Apparently, I'm going to Italy.
I don't know. Is it a good time to go to Italy?
Probably not.
Yay, 2020.
I guess we will do the podcast after all. Huge sigh of relief. So, the chapter starts with Kahlan's dream of Richard being interrupted by shouting. Mosul, who we know had left with the group of defectors, had been brought back after his men had been killed.
Yeah, which was not the plan.
No, they were supposed to kill everybody to a man. She said that a couple times. Very specifically. So, Kahlan, once she sees him, confesses him instantly. There's no talking.
Other than Ryan being kind of a dick and being like, oh, I thought you'd want to kill him yourself.
Yeah, since he wasn't actually doing anything wrong. Like, almost egging her on.
Yeah, no,
hey,
he was.
Don't do that. But yeah, so she reaches out and confesses him. And he's got this gag on his mouth, so instantly he's trying to say, command me, mother confessor, and he can't, so he's getting frustrated and freaking out a little bit mildly. She takes off the gag and commands him to tell her the truth of what his plans were for the formerly known as Child Boy Army.
Yes.
They are now the Man Army and the Shitter Army.
Yeah. They weren't planning on just, like, going off and hanging out in the woods and and having a party or something. They were, in fact, going to the shitter camp.
Yep, they were going to join up with the shitter camp and then most likely say, hey, there's about 5,000 guys over there who we could take care of real quick.
Yeah, he thought that would give them favor, which, honestly, it's pretty... maybe not unexpected, because Kahlan obviously expected this to be happening, but the fact that she was so spot on with what they were doing is maybe not lucky, but good for her.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it goes to show you that she knows what she's talking about when it comes to people, lies, and wartime, and taking chances. You have to have a zero-risk margin. Like, if any one of these guys had escaped, they could have told the order, like he was planning on doing, and then that brings harm to you, so everybody had to die.
I'm just thinking now how deeply it shows you that this guy's misogyny ran, because he was chasing this army down with his people to kill them for what they did to their people, for raping and torturing and all that shit that they did. And as soon as he found out that a woman was going to be leading his army, he was like, you know what? I bet you men are running the raping, shitting army. Yeah. I'm going to go be with them.
Probably sounded like a better time to him.
That's fucked up.
Oh, yeah. No, totally. And so he asks her again to command him because, again, after confessed, they only care about what they can do. And Kahlan looks him in the eyeballs and says, I want you to die right now.
And then he does.
And then he does. He convulses, falls to the ground, and he's done. And she's looking around at the rest of the men like, are you happy now? You see what I had to do? And they're not happy. They're terrified. Understandably so.
I also think that they're a little bit, like, embarrassed, probably. I don't know if embarrassed is the right word either, but just like, oh shit, she was right. Like, we wanted so badly for these guys to be good guys and her to look like an asshole here, but now we look like the asshole.
He was hoping that that's the way it was going to play out, but nope.
But she goes on to tell him, Captain Ryan, that he's off the hook for disobeying as long as he's learned his lesson, and he says he did, because, you know, you would. But he was willing to take, like, whatever punishment she was going to deal down to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, by the way, she did warn them before they left, like, hey, you can speak out now, but otherwise you're going to fucking follow orders. And this is the very, like, 2 hours later, somebody's, like, flaunting it in her face, like, I'm not following orders.
She said you were allowed? This is not that fucking time.
No. This is way worse than, like, talking back.
Oh, yeah. This is a direct disobeying of orders that ultimately resulted in one guy being left alive, which we know is a threat.
And he tried to disrespect and, like, make her look bad in front of the entire army. Had this gone the other way, nobody would have trusted or followed her.
Right.
For sure. Like, in this instance, it actually worked out for her, because now everyone's like, oh shit, she's not fucking around, and she's right.
Yeah.
But it could have gone the other way, so by all rights, he really did deserve to be, like, smacked a little bit.
Well, there is a theme of this book, and that's been good intentions so far. So, I mean, even though it was kind of a bad intention, it was a selfish good intention, but they can have consequences, as we know. I like your train of thought. If it had gone the other way, it could have been very different. So, Kahlan is exhausted. She had used the very last bit of her strength. She shouldn't have had to. All the 2 hours of sleep she got were just, it's a waste now.
And it wasn't going to be that much to begin with. Let's be real. That's not really going to help you that much.
2 hours. Like, you get that way when you're a parent and you have little babies at home and you're like, all right, I just need to close my eyes. And then you're up for another 3 hours. Gee. Thanks, kid. I am super rested for today.
And I mean, that's tough, but you're not, like, running and battling people. So I feel like maybe you need even more sleep when you're doing this kind of, like, active body shit.
So Ryan apologizes for not killing Mosul because now he realizes how wrong he was. He thought Kahlan was just being spiteful because they weren't going to follow them. And his father had always taught him, look, you have to admit your mistakes before you can do right in this world, which is something I love. And it's something that people don't do, especially in today's society. We see a lot of, not to get too far into anything at all, but we see a lot of stones thrown from both sides, and there's never any apologies. Nobody is admitting when they make a mistake, like, oh, I didn't realize that. And that's, at least in today's world, something that can make people have conversations.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I mean, just on, like, a base level, a lot of times that's where lying comes in. It's like,
right,
you'd have to cover something up because you aren't admitting to something that you did wrong, so you're lying about it. And in the end, if you had just come out with it, it would make things a lot easier. And now you cause a whole avalanche of bullshit because you couldn't just say it.
Right. And in this scenario, Kahlan, she can respect the fuck out of that because he's willing to admit when he makes a mistake. He's willing to take whatever punishment she's going to dole out. He is actually sorry about it. And she sees that. And so she doesn't hold it against him.
But, like, fucking don't do it again, okay?
Yeah. You are definitely on thin ice now.
Speaking of ice, Sergeant Frost comes up.
I mean, if ever a slow clap was needed. Good job, Jade. Well played. That's some pro podcast shit right there.
Segways galore. So Sergeant Frost comes up, and he tells Kahlan that they found chalk in a dozen bath-sized tubs in an abandoned barn so they can make whitewash. Like, fucking lucky as hell, right?
Yeah, farmer just had it all there underneath the tarp.
He was teaching school kids in his barn, so he had an enormous amount of chalk. If somebody has a good reason that farmers have chalk, I would love to know, because in my head, that seems no.
The only thing I can think of is it could have been used for a house or a fence.
Like just painting?
Yeah, well, yeah, you know, you want your shit to look nice, so you whitewash. I don't know if they do it to houses, but like a fence makes sense. Well, what is it, Tom Huck? Tom Sawyer? Tom Huck.
Tom Huck.
Tom Sawyer, when he's got to whitewash the fence, you know?
I guess I would just think that they would have it in different material, like that they wouldn't have to break it down from chalk to make whitewash every time. Like it seemed in my head like that's a stopgap. Like that's what they can use to make chalk, or like that's what they can use to make whitewash, so they're going to. But like chalk maybe isn't always used to make whitewash. Is that what you make whitewash out of? I need help.
I don't know. I think that's going to have to be a question for Google. But this guy has a lot of it.
Yeah, so Kahlan tells them that they have to put the tubs together, fill them with hot water under the biggest tents that they have, and then they have to put heated stones in each one to keep them warm as possible. So they're making like a little bath city here.
They're literally making a sauna in the middle of an army camp.
Yeah, they're taking like the tents that they have. She's like, even the commander's tent, take that shit.
Yeah. But
fuck your tent, Ryan.
But who wouldn't want to volunteer for that service? Like, it's cold. We know it's cold.
Yeah, let's go take baths.
Yeah, or just let's volunteer to be in the hot tent. Like, oh yeah, I will help with that, because there's at least a chance of me having to be on the inside of that warm-ass tent.
True.
So, yeah, I'll take that duty.
When Ryan does ask her why she's doing all this, she's like, shh, just let it happen. It's okay. All right, don't worry about it.
We just got on to good terms, okay? So don't fuck that up by asking questions and stuff.
Just trust me.
Which is weird. They are preparing to mount an attack on the enemy right now. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Why are you leaving details out?
I don't really know why she waits to tell him what it is. It seemed a little weird, but whatever. She's probably just a little pissy with him still. Like, fuck you can wait. She starts walking through the camp, and Hobson runs up to her again with some more stew, and she tries to take a couple bites, but really she can't eat at this point because she needs all of her energy to, like, keep her going. Food will divert that shit. Which I didn't think about before. In the last chapter, you had said how you would definitely want a bowl of fucking stew.
Yeah.
You would not turn it down. But now it makes sense that, like, she has a good reason. She needs to sleep and, like, recoup before she can try to digest.
It's not like she's carbo loading because she's going into battle. She needs to recuperate her strength.
Yeah. And all these different soldiers keep running up to her as they're walking, telling her different ideas that they have, like breaking wheels, burning flags, putting manure in the water, so that they have to keep melting snow to make more water.
Right. It's really going to fuck them up. They all need water to live. So if you get all of their water full of shit, they can't drink that. And it's going to take these guys much more time just to get the basic necessities of life.
Well, and she described that before, that they're like a small army, so they can grab a little bit of food here and there and make it. They can hunt a little bit and distribute the food. An army that big can't do that.
You know, it's like a pirate sloop against a pirate galleon.
Ah, yes.
Yes. Galleon is strong. 8 cannons. You don't want to get in front of that, but like a sloop, 2 cannons. It can just harry you from all sides, and you can't pin it down.
Yeah, circle you, outrun you.
Right. This is a really good analogy.
Once they get to the wagons, Kahlan asks Captain Ryan if he's been trained with a troga. Troga.
2 pieces of wood, sometimes modern ones are like plastic and cable. Some of them have really, really sharp razor wire. Some of them have thicker wire, depending on if it's a decapitation tool or if it's just a suffocation tool. But essentially, you can wrap this around a person's head and then pull outward with both of your arms, suffocating or decapitating, like I said. But the point of it is that your enemy doesn't make any sound because they can't breathe or use their voice.
Yeah.
So it's like a stealth weapon, and they are deadly as hell and really fucking cool. Did you look up a picture of one?
Well, that's what I was trying to look up. It's definitely not called a troga normally. In the real world, because when you search Troga, it doesn't pop up unless it's sort of true stuff. It's normally called a garrote, which is why it was stirring things in my brain. I always liked it when they brought these out, though, because it was like, it's like James Bond.
Oh, yeah, they got little, what are they called? Gadgets.
Yeah.
He's got gadgets.
Yeah, like a wristwatch with some fishing line. You can just get a guy.
So, as he tells her how sneaky and clever he and his men are, even though Chan doesn't think so, because he kind of gave him a demonstration, but obviously the Mud People are way fucking sneakier than anybody else, Chan sneaks up behind him and pokes him in the ribs. He jumps I can understand this, because I would jump like a motherfucker. I hate being tickled. So if somebody came up behind me and was like, jab, in my rib, it'd be a thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've done this to you, like, on a regular basis. I'll just, sneak up behind